Circle of friends. Our circle of friends is very important to all of us. They can be made up of family, friends from childhood, or even friends from work. They help us become the people that we are, and they really do shape and influence who we are. In addition to our friends, we spend a lot of time around people we may not always choose to be with, such as work colleagues, classmates, and so on. These people also have a powerful influence on us as well. The impact of these relationships should never be underestimated. You'll find that if you spend all of your time around negative people, it's likely that you'll become a negative person. If you spend your time with happy people, chances are you'll be a happy person. The same with wealthy and successful people. Hang around with them enough, and chances are their attitude will begin to rub off on you, and you will think more like a wealthy person. We are massively influenced by the people we spend time with, and it is true that people are attracted to similar people with attitudes and goals similar to ours. The same can be said about people with problems similar to ours, and barriers similar to ours. We can often find comfort in what we already know. The problem here comes in the form of what do you do if you want to be happier, more motivated, but are surrounded by the opposite. You may not want to change your friends and family. So here we have a look at understanding people's behaviour a little more. Build upon the basics of modelling, a tool created for neuro-linguistic programming, and which is in fact responsible for much of NLP today. In case you're not aware of NLP, a lot of this course has been put together from some core NLP principles. NLP is an approach to psychology that's been built or modelled upon finding experts in their field and discovering what specifically that person does that brings results that others cannot. It's about asking the right question at the right time before listening and acting upon what you've just learned. It's never been easier to build your personal circle of friends than it is today. When I was at school growing up, people had pen pals in France or America, and they'd write to them once a month, post a letter with real stamps and wait. After about a month, a reply would come, and it was all so exotic. People would brag about their German friend and so on. Now any of us can sit down at the computer and within minutes make a new friend in almost every country on earth, without any real effort. Essentially, you can grow your circle of influence onto a global scale. When you model a behaviour, what you're essentially doing is breaking it down into steps that you can implement into your own life and your own activities. Modelling essentially comes down to a number of core tasks. Step 1. Establish what skills do you want to learn, and from there, who can become your inspiration? Who does it better than you? Whatever your goal is, it's likely that you're not the best at it in the world. Even if you're pretty great already, there's always room for improvement. What you need to do is decide what you want to change or improve in your life. Next, you have to decide who you already know that is better at it than you. I always wanted to be an artist and create genuinely great pieces of art. However, I really struggled with finishing and putting the time in to go beyond the basic sixth form quality of work. Now, I'm fortunate that I actually know a number of people who I describe as artists. People who are good at what they do and, more importantly, have self-belief in that skill. If you do not know anyone in person, then get onto Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn and find experts. You could even try your favourite professionals and experts in the field. From here, make contact. Tell them what you want to do and why. Ask them to answer a half dozen or so questions. That's all. It could even be just one email. Step 2. Ask the right questions. Once you've made that initial contact, and be honest, most people are flattered when someone is interested in them and what they do, it's important not to waste people's time. So prepare your questions. Establish exactly what you want to learn and then start phrasing your questions around that. When putting your questions together, choose questions that ask what rather than why. Why questions can be unfocused and lead to excuses or undirected responses. What questions are specific and lead to actionable answers. Here are some example questions. Each one could be independent or part of a journey. Number 1. What do you aim for when you start the? Number 2. What is your motivation when you begin? Number 3, what keeps you going? Number 4, who do you complete these activities for? Number 5, what is the biggest challenge that you have to overcome? Number 6, what do you think about when you are? Number 7, who inspires you the most and who did you learn from? Number 8, what made you choose to do? Number 9, what one piece of advice can you give me? Number 10, what would stop you from? Even if you only ask those 10 simple questions, you'd be well on your way to understanding more from an expert viewpoint and motivation towards your own excellence. Of course, you can ask as many or as few questions as you want, and these are just a suggestion. As long as you ask a question that has a defined answer, that's not simply a yes or a no, you should be fine. Now, you should have been taking notes. If you're just asking questions and if you ask the questions online, then you should make sure you have a copy of the answers. What you should do now is spend some time reviewing the answers and think about how these answers would compare to your current process and way of working. What are they doing different to you? Could you incorporate that attitude or activity into your life? Try and come up with at least 5 different approaches that you could try out. Experiment. Find an approach that works for you. When I was asking artists, I received a wide range of answers to some questions. Some like to work in silence, some with a TV on, and others like to listen to high energy music. Individual approaches that worked for some. So I tried them out and found what worked for me. On a similar vein, almost every artist I asked started with a clear vision of what they wanted to achieve. They could already see the artwork in their mind's eye, and all they were doing was transferring it into the real world. An approach that I'd never taken before. You should try and learn from as many people as you can, not just 1 or 2 people. The more you follow, the more options you will have, and the more chances of discovering a personal breakthrough. In the same way that we can ask modelling questions to gain an understanding into successful people's behaviour, you can also use these concepts to break away from being influenced by negative people. You shouldn't use these questions to understand why someone is negative. You're more likely to just annoy them. If you run through the questions in your head though, when you're in such a situation, you can start understanding why a person acts the way they do and choose to be influenced by it or not. We all have our individual outlook on the world, and if you want to be successful, motivated and happy, it's essential that you look for those traits in people, whether face to face or by distance. Learn to follow positive leads and ignore negative ones.